Yo, Derek Parker, DP, coming at you with a live mock draft because I'm out of time. We are days away from the 2025 NBA draft, and I don't have time to cut up film. I don't have time to record voiceover. I only have time to sit in front of this computer and just riff and draft off the cuff, which, as you will see, went swimmingly. No bad picks, nothing bad happens at all. Definitely not some ones I want back, but that's the nature of the draft. That's how it goes. So I hope you enjoy it. This will probably be the last video before the 25 NBA draft, which I know we're all excited for. If you're here, you're excited for it. So hope to see you there. Hope to see you after. And yeah, here it is. All right, kicking us off, the Dallas Mavericks. We're going to make the easy decision here and go with Kon Knueppel, number 1 overall. Just kidding. Just kidding. We'll go with Cooper Flagg. He's obviously going to be the number 1 pick, obviously going to infuse this Dallas Mavericks team with a lot of juice, both offensive and defensive. Perfect piece to have for any team, 6'9" forward, gets it done on both ends. I've talked about it before, but I think he's going to be one of the better positioned rookie contracts in the league, just given how quickly he's ascended through basketball, how good of a defender I think he'll be early in his career. I think the offense can come in easy ways. I think he'll improve within his first 1 to 2 seasons. And should be able to give the Mavericks a really good player really early. Obviously, they don't consider any sort of trades here, nothing like that. So Cooper Flagg's the easy pick. We're under a week away from seeing him officially don a Dallas Mavericks jersey. San Antonio Spurs now on the clock. Yet another pretty easy decision, Dylan Harper. There's been some rumors floating around that they might try to trade number 2, that they maybe covet someone else a little lower, try to get some assets. I don't buy it. I think they're taking Dylan Harper. 6'6", essential combo guard, going to be able to play a lot of lead guard with the ball in his hands, but good at off-ball things too, like cutting. The shooting should be projectable. He gets out in transition. One of the better downhill forces we've seen. And like I said, I understand somewhat doing the due diligence here in maybe checking out Kon Knueppel, who by all accounts is a perfect fit. Ace Bailey, at his peak, may fit better next to Victor Wembanyama than Dylan Harper would. Kind of disagree with that, but I get that line of thinking in doing your due diligence. But Occam's razor here, sometimes the best solution is the one that's staring you right in the face. And I think Dylan Harper here is who they drafted Stephon Castle to be. Stephon Castle can still be a really impactful player in that off-ball kind of wing stopper role. So we're going to roll with Dylan Harper, number 2. And here's where the draft begins. 76ers on the clock at number 3. I thought about doing trades for this mock. I've decided against it. Instead, I'm just going to touch on some ones that I think could be realistic. Obviously, the Pelicans being front of mind here, given that they've allegedly been very aggressive in trying to trade up to number 3 to grab Ace Bailey. I don't know what that trade necessarily looks like. Obviously, Herb Jones has been thrown around, and I think that makes a lot of sense for both teams. Philadelphia obviously gets a great win now piece, one of the best defensive wings in the league that they can add to their core. They want to win now, and they move back just 4 spots. And on the Pelicans end, obviously, you lose out on a great piece in Herb. Now, is he necessarily needle moving right now? I don't think so. Are you confident that this Zion Williamson-led core is going to go deep into the postseason? I'm not. And Herb Jones already being fairly old, not really adding like a ton of wins like over the course of a season probably. I understand if the gap between your 3rd best player on the board and the 7th best player on your board is wide. I understand making that trade. Now, Philadelphia might have to sweeten that pot a little bit. It is a little lopsided to give up a really good player to move up 4 spots, but I understand the framework there. Regardless of that fact, we are going to go Ace Bailey here. I'm going to do this for a few reasons. Firstly, I don't do it very often. Take Ace Bailey 3rd. Number 1, I'm tired of the comments. I don't want to have to deal with, oh, there's no way Ace Bailey slips to 6, 7, 8, 9, even though that's absolutely a possibility as the reports are now surfacing. And number 2, I do just want to kind of give myself a different look here because I'm usually functioning with Ace Bailey kind of slipping down the board, and I want to actually take him 3 because there is a great chance he goes 3, so I want to give myself that option and evaluate from there. So Ace Bailey, Rutgers 6'9" wing to the Philadelphia 76ers. And now Charlotte's on the clock. VJ Edgecombe, obvious candidate here. Trey Johnson, to me, my 3rd best prospect. If you watched my big board video, you know Trey Johnson's my 3rd best prospect. Kon Knueppel, my 4th best prospect. And VJ Edgecombe, my 5th. I think that the Hornets should go best player available. Now, this isn't necessarily like what I would do. Obviously, we just took Ace Bailey 3rd. I would not do that. But it's also not going to just be like a Intel-based reports flying type of mock either. So It's just going to be a combination. I mean, we're just going off straight vibes. Come on, Malawach, I think is a great option here. That was who I picked in my last mock for Charlotte. I think it's a possibility. Knipple, I've never really considered here this high, but I somewhat get it. Ultimately, we're going to go with Edgecombe. I feel like all Charlotte Hornets roads lead back to Edgecombe somewhat in the fact that he offers win now attributes in stingy defense, getting out in transition, that boost of athleticism that he just gives the second he hits the court. But he's also got that high upside if the handling comes around, if the shooting continues to get better, things like that. So he's good for Charlotte in that he could give them wins next season, but he could also blossom into a star that they desperately need in a few seasons. And he kind of fits that 1, 2, 3 with LaMelo at the 1, Edgecombe at the 2, Brandon Miller at the 3 well. I like this pick. I'm going to do it. VJ Edgecombe, number 4 to Charlotte. The Jazz are on the clock, number 5. Obviously, I think the Jazz are not looking to trade out of this spot. They're looking to add a lot of talent, as much talent as possible. Seems like they're getting ready to offload Walker Kessler. I don't know that I see Come On Malawach as an option here necessarily, even though they're going to maybe get rid of Kessler. I just don't like a pick on Malawach for them this high. Trey Johnson, again, would be my current best player available. Con Knipple's up there. Don't know that I love Con Knipple's upside specifically for Utah. Jeremiah Fears makes a lot of sense as a player who has tremendous upside, could really pour into as a lead guard option. Kasparas Jakučionis, I don't know that he's the best out of this group, but should things fall a certain way, I could see the Jazz maybe swinging on him. At the end of the day, though, we're going to go with my guy, Trey Johnson. You see it here, 19.9 points per game. One of the best true freshman guard scorers we've seen ever. I mean, he is in that handful upper echelon of guys that did it at all 3 levels. Absolutely blistering three-point shooting. He gets into his jumpers with ease. He's an underrated passer. He's got length, so I don't worry about him on defense. And I truly just believe that he's going to be a scoring star in this league. Now, is he going to be a number 1 option? That's up in the air. Is he going to be a number 2 to 3 option? I really, really think so, given his off-ball gravity. He's very versatile shooting the ball, can get into all kinds of different shots, be it pulling up in transition, simply spotting up 1 to 2 dribble counters. He can do absolutely everything. I think for the Jazz, he would offer the blue chip version of a few prospects that they have right now in Keontae George. Trey Johnson would be the 5-star, 1 of 1, 99th percentile outcome of those type of players to me. So I would swing on Trey Johnson, get him assimilated into that core, and keep making these picks over the next few years with him in mind. Here at number 6, the way this has shaken out is probably the most interesting pick, maybe of the whole draft for me, because there's legitimately 4 different options that I think I could really, really see the Wizards going with. Come on, Malawach. This is one that has gained a lot of steam recently, with reports kind of flying around that they maybe want to pair Malawach with Sarr, maybe do another lengthy kind of 7-foot duo a la Cleveland. And I think it makes sense because Alex Sarr isn't necessarily like a super strong 5. He probably projects to play more of the 4, providing ancillary secondary shot blocking. He can stretch out to the perimeter with ease as long as he gets better in that area. And then Malawach has the size and length that they value, 7'2". Obviously, you can't teach that. You can't do it. Listen, my dad tried. He tried his best. I ended up 5'6", so it's unteachable. And then he's obviously got the rim running, the shot blocking, a little bit of feel, a little bit of funk. He should get better in a variety of areas, be that defending on the perimeter, maybe 3-point shooting. Jeremiah Fears would be the next one for Washington. I think he has true star upside. He's not dissimilar to Bub Carrington, who they swung on last year. I think Fears is the more talented between the two, having averaged 17, 4, and 4 as one of the youngest players in the entire country. Several things are going to have to go right for him to actually hit his upside. He's going to have to get better scoring at all 3 levels. He'll have to hone the passing, not turn it over as much, just work on the general decision-making, shot selection, things like that. But Jeremiah Fears, if you develop him correctly, could be one of the best players in this draft. Kasparas Jakučionis is a player that I always come back to for Washington, given his positional versatility, positional size, feel for the game. He would be a great table setter for a team that desperately needs it. He would be able to hone his on-ball guard skills. He would be able to hone his off-ball wing skills. Versatile player that I think has a decent mix of both high floor and high upside. And then the sleeper here is Noah Asenge, who has really, really come on strong. He didn't have a great last game with Ratio Farm Ulm, but I mean, just insanely lengthy, can do so many things. He has an all-time free throw rate, great finisher at the rim, plays through contact, would make a great addition to the Wizards. Obviously, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, as we touched on. He's probably just a little bit too similar to the Alex Sarr role, but I'm also not under the impression that this Wizards front office is necessarily drafting for fit at all right now. Like, I think they could just be willing to take the best player available, and I don't think it's completely out of the question out of this group that he is that for them. I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to go with Jakub Jonas. I cannot shake the feeling that they like him. I just can't. Like, it hasn't been reported. There's no real basis for me to say this. I just feel in my bones that they like this player and that he fits what they're doing. Will Dawkins was part of the Thunder front office under Sam Presti. I have covered the Thunder now for several years, a half decade, if you will. And I just can't shake this pick. So I'm going to make it Jakub Jonas, number 6 to the Wizards. Next up are those sneaky Pelicans that we still think could trade up to number 3. They didn't do it here. Obviously, the phone didn't ring for Philadelphia. There's a few options here. Just looking through this roster, I think they can honestly stand to add quite a bit. Like I said, I don't know that I see this roster really contending next season. I know that's a hot take. I know people have the Pels. They've got the Pels pegged for next season. I'm not one of those guys. I'm going to go with Khaman Maluach. I feel like he offers somewhat of a middle ground between taking the best player available and simply drafting for fit. I think he could slot into the starting lineup as soon as next year. It's a look that they haven't ran out yet in the Zion Williamson era, but I think Khaman also offers a sneaky amount of upside. I think this is his range, whether it's the Pelicans or not. I think Khaman Maluach will go here at 6, 7, 8. So be it them or someone else, I think he goes here. And yeah, I like this pick for New Orleans, even if they do stand pat and they don't trade up and they don't get uber aggressive with who they want to get. I like Maluach as a safe fallback option that should add some immediate impact both now and in the future. Brooklyn with the 8th pick. Just a blank slate of a roster, obviously. We can scroll through here. Nick Claxton won't be there in the long term. Cam Johnson won't be there in the long term. Russell, Melton, Zaire Williams, Cam Thomas, Sharp, Clowney, Dariq Whitehead. So many guys that won't be there in the long term. They basically are drafting the first player of their new era. And they've got 4 first-round picks that we can obviously play with, 19, 26, 27. They've even got an early second, 36. So a lot of options. I can't imagine that they'll hang on to every single one, but maybe they do. Maybe they fill out this roster with strictly 25 draft picks and they try to monopolize the success of this draft. I think these top 4 here are really who I'd consider. Jeremiah Fears, as we've touched on, high-octane point guard prospect. Kon Knueppel, do it all, a little bit better upside than people think, but probably not the superstar swing that the Brooklyn Nets are maybe wanting to take right now. Noah Esenge, as we touched on, and then Yegor Demon is an interesting option for them. Given who's on the board, I don't love it, but if things shake out differently, if there's a lot of maybe more role player-esque players left on the board here, I don't hate Demon as a swing for Brooklyn. Ultimately, I'm going to go Esenge. I feel like this is a sneaky pick in terms of Esenge offers immensely high ceiling just given how long he is, how much room he has to grow given that he's 18 and a half years old. But he also doesn't have far to go in simply becoming a decent role player. And I think given that Brooklyn is likely looking to land a star on the market, there's these reports that they want to add some superstar in the next few years and they want to do this kind of half rebuild, quick rebuild thing. Esenge makes sense to me given that he could be good quickly and great in the long term. I like the pick here for Brooklyn. The Raptors are on the clock here at number 9. This is a highly interesting pick. To me, they need a point guard. People don't like when I draft Jeremiah Fears here. But I mean, who's their lead guard right now? Quickly? Making $32 million for the next 5 years? Is he going to be the guard that really ushers you into this new era of Raptors basketball? I'm skeptical, folks. I'm skeptical. But I also understand that you want contributors. He's not a typical Masai prospect. I certainly get that. But if he slips here, I would say we're officially in a Jeremiah Fears slide, which isn't out of the question. You know, how many teams really need a point guard prospect? Not that many. So if he gets by a few, he could get by several. Yegor Demon's fun because he does have that length that this organization covets. He wouldn't necessarily have to play point guard, but he could play kind of that off-ball connective wing role while also adding those lead guard duties in absence of Emmanuel Quickley or whoever's handling the ball. It's also a pick I've never made. I do enjoy that, but they allegedly like Derek Queen as well. if they cannot get their hands on Malawach, which obviously in this draft they can't. I also typically have Derek Queen sliding. I just don't know where to place him. This does make a little bit of sense to me, given that they'll probably continue gambling on length and upside. Maybe they turn it into a team where Queen can have the rock in his hands and this positionally versatile kind of filled out roster where they can all do a lot of different things. I don't hate that. Carter Bryant makes a whole lot of sense here, I think. If they hadn't traded for Brandon Ingram, I would run to the podium to get Bryant. But I'm a little worried given that they have Ingram, Barrett, Barnes, and a few others in that forward rotation, that Carter Bryant would be a little bit left on the wayside early. Man, this is a tough one. I did not mean to spend this much time on just Toronto, but super interesting. I'm going to go Derek Queen. I don't make this pick. It seems plausible. I would get if they did it. First time I've mocked Derek Queen in the top 10 in a hot minute. We're going to go here. So Rockets on the clock with the number 10 pick. Jeremiah Fears is sliding. Just not a lot of teams valuing a point guard prospect, which seems likely at the top of this draft. Could happen. Con Knipple is on a slide. Teams just kind of valuing upside opposed to what he brings with high floor, high feel attributes. Could also happen. Here's how it's shaken out so far. Flag, Harper, Bailey, Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, Yakachonis, Malawach, Senge, Queen. I have a sneaking suspicion that this will be the Phoenix Suns on draft night. The Rockets just seem the best position to go get Kevin Durant. This is probably as good as Phoenix could do 2025 pick-wise, and the Rockets have the Suns' future picks, which I think makes the most sense given where they're at right now, where they want to be in the next few years. So this could very well be Phoenix, and if that's the case, I think you run to the podium and select Fears. That makes the most sense to me, at least. Given that this is the Rockets, though, we're going to go with Con Knipple. Knipple kind of reminds me of Reed Sheppard in terms of the blistering three-point shooting, extremely high feel, usually just like a very mistake-free game. Now, I know Sheppard is set to obviously get a bigger role on the Rockets next year. He's going to offer that three-point shooting, the handling, the passing, the defensive playmaking, all of that. But I don't think you can necessarily go wrong in adding Con too, who adds even more three-point shooting, adds that dash of pick and roll prowess. And again, just another player who kind of plays mistake-free. Good for the Rockets. They have another fiery three-point shooter that they can throw in alongside Alperen Şengün. This would be, at least to me, another really strong addition to the Rockets core. They've already got one of the best young cores in the league. This would certainly solidify that. Portland Trailblazers on the clock at number 11. They're another team I think could trade up. I really do. I'm not in love with most of the options that fall here to the Trailblazers. I think they've got some players that maybe win now teams could take a look at. You know, this is a really good defensive team. They won some games in the West late last year. I think they're a trade up candidate. I'll say that. And then players I consider here, especially with the way it's shaken out, Yegor Demon, Carter Bryant, 3-and-D, high field forward, have made that pick before. Those are really the two. I don't know that I consider Fears, given that a little Scoot-esque. I still believe in Scoot, and I certainly don't think you can probably roll out both and expect them to hit their high output ceiling. I'm going to go Carter Bryant. I think this makes a ton of sense on several different levels. You know, they value this length. He's one of the best defenders in this class. They obviously value defense, given that they rolled out one of the better ones in the back half of the season last year. Great three-point shooter for a team that I think will eventually need three-point shooting long term. I think he projects to be a really good high-field 3-and-D player, as I mentioned, but there's also probably more upside than meets the eye with Bryant, given that he was a 5-star. He'll be able to work on his game in a bigger capacity with a bigger scope, obviously with the Trailblazers, given that they would value him here at number 11, so like this pick for Portland. The Bulls are on the clock at number 12, and people have already got their fingers on the keyboard, man. Who are you gonna tell? Why would you? Breathe. I'm gonna tell you something. Bulls fans, look at me. Your team's not good. They're not gonna be good based off this pick. Doesn't matter if they get a guard, a wing, a forward, a center. Doesn't matter. The team is bad. Get the best player available. Shouldn't matter what pick you get. Oh, but they've got guards. They need more, buddy. I promise. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Jeremiah Fears. He is far and away the best player available. He's probably not going to be a starting level guard early in his career. I mean, more likely than not, he'll be 6-man off the bench. He'll be able to pour on some buckets, get you some points in that regard, and maybe dish the rock a little bit, but very much a project guard who you hope turns into a star down the line. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad fit even right now, given the fact that you have Ball, Kobe White, Josh Giddey, obviously if you re-sign him, Dosunmu. He's a player that people are considering as high as 5, 6, things like that. So Beers can still get plenty of developmental work with the Bulls. All right, Atlanta Hawks on the clock. Interesting options here for Atlanta, just given the way that the rest of this draft has gone. Pretty funky so far. We got the slide from Fears, slide from Knipple. Queen went in the top 10. I don't make that pick often. Asenge actually saw the rise that his stock seems to be having right now, went at number 8. Interesting way for it to shake out. And as you all know, certainly possible, given how volatile the draft can be. For Atlanta, we've got Yegor Demon on the board. We've got Colin Murray Boyles, a fit I have long liked for Atlanta, just given kind of his funkiness. Offers a different front court look as that 6'7" forward, one of the best defenders in this class. He's got that nice mix of speed and strength to go get downhill. Obviously can't shoot it a lick right now. Probably doesn't project to even in the long term, but Atlanta's got shooters. I mean, Trae Young, Riza Shea, Jalen Johnson. You've got guys that can stretch the floor. I don't necessarily worry about the fit with CMB in that regard. Joan Berenger is a player that seems to be surging up boards right now. I believe he came back with 6'11" barefoot, 7'4" wingspan measurement. So he's a legit 5. That's massive. The problem for me with Berenger is that he adds a little bit more of the same. Obviously, he's longer, probably a little bit more mobile than Capella, but not as sturdy, not as unmovable. He's still just a rim running 5, that's going to be able to block a few shots here and there. I just don't love doing the same thing that Atlanta's done and kind of re-rolling the dice on this archetype, for lack of a better word. So for that reason, I think I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to go Colin Murray Boyles, who I think could be really, really good in Atlanta. You could use him as kind of your high post hub. He could play make on both ends, not only racking up steals and blocks, but also giving him the ball on offense, letting him spray to shooters, letting him get downhill and kind of use creativity, letting him blossom into what could be like a really, really toolsy kind of Swiss Army knife piece for this Hawks team that I think could use one. So CMB to the Hawks at number 13. The Spurs are again on the clock, this time with the number 14 pick. We've got Yegor Demon available. I think that would be really fun, but I don't feel like having the masses come at me for that one. Liam McNeely. This is probably a little bit rich for McNeely to my taste, personally. Asa Newell makes some sense. Neat Clifford, underrated option if you're just wanting to add a really, really good player right now that I think could hit the ground running, do a lot of wing things well, elite rebounder for his size. Rasheer Fleming makes some sense. I'm looking for him. There he is. Cedric Coward, I think to me is probably the pick here. Coward at 6'6" with the 7'2" wingspan, pretty nicely built, is a wing type that San Antonio desires typically, but the catch with him is that he's already got that shooting built in, which is not very typical of these types of players, and I think could really, really work to San Antonio's advantage given that they've got Victor Wembanyama. He's obviously the centrifugal focus of this team. In this case, you would have Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, all great guard options, but not necessarily ones that are prolific shooting the ball. So I think taking a shot on, number 1, a shooter, but number 2, a player who stands to get better defensively, is immensely long, has a fun post-up game, could be really fun. Really good option there for San Antonio with their second lottery pick. The Thunder are on the clock with number 15. This is one that I would maybe expect the Thunder to try to move up a little from. They're an organization that has never been shy in moving up to go get their guy, a la Cason Wallace in 2023, Jalen Williams 2022. I would expect with the number 24 pick, with their future cache of picks, that they would maybe move up 1 or 2 spots, 2 or 3 spots to jump a team that wants their guy. Now, I don't necessarily know who that is. Maybe they're fine here to pick at 15. Maybe they kick this one and 24 down the road. You never know. The good news is that they are, as I'm recording this, 1 win away from the finals. They potentially have won it depending on when this comes out, because game 6 right now for me is tomorrow. I will be there in Indiana. I got to fly out at 6 a.m. in the morning. Not going to be fun. Not excited. I digress. I'm going to go with Neat Clifford here. To my earlier point, I think he's just so polished in so many areas. He's going to be able to score both on and off the ball. He's going to be positionally versatile, being able to moonlight as a lead guard, more often play that kind of off-ball connecting wing role. Again, elite rebounder for a wing, 9.6 per game. That's been somewhat of a thorn in the Thunder side depending on matchups and lineups. And the Thunder are likely, given that they're going to have to pay Jalen Williams, who had a 40-point outburst the other night in the finals. Wow. Chet Holmgren, and obviously Shea's on his contract. They're going to have to pay that trio. Their draft strategy moving forward is likely just to backfill this roster with guys like this that can hit the ground running, that offer impact early, but can still get better. I don't think Neat Clifford is necessarily a finished project. Yeah, I like this pick a lot for Oklahoma City. Hey, we made it. The Grizzlies are now on the clock with the number 16 pick. Obviously, this happened earlier in the week. I touched on a few different options that I thought the Grizzlies would consider at number 16. Coincidentally, I just took all three. I just took all three of the options that I thought Memphis would consider here. Nate Clifford, Cedric Howard, Colin Murray Boyles. So that's my bad. Hand up my bad there for you, Memphis. I said I liked those three to kind of fill out that middling part of the roster for the Grizzlies. I think they've got good options at the 1 and the hybrid 1. I think they've got good options at the 5 and the hybrid 5. I think they need some guys in that 2, 3, 4 area. Yegor Demin is interesting to me, especially given that you have just offloaded Bane. Now, I know that they could easily flip those assets for, say, a Kevin Durant and turn around and try to win now again, but if you do look to rebuild for the long haul, Demin's a great option. Behringer I don't love. I think he shades 5. McNeely's fine. Again, this is still a bit rich for my taste. Will Riley, probably a bit rich for my taste as well, even though I do value him pretty highly. Sorber too close to a 5. Richardson makes sense to me on some level. I think them having Scottie Pippen Jr. puts a slight wrench in the Jace Richardson to Memphis plans. Asen Newell makes some sense to me given that he probably does project to be a 4, but even still you've got Edey, Jaren Jackson Jr., some other interesting kind of jumbo options, Santi Aldama. So I don't love that. This is a really tough one, and I'm about to do something stupid, and I'm just going to have to apologize for it later. Danny Wolf, 7-footer. You know all about Danny Wolf. You've seen the turnaround, step back, three-pointer, butter. You've seen the flashy 3.6 assists per game, the elite rebounding 9.7 points per game. He played with the big at Michigan. For all intents and purposes, Danny Wolf is a wing. He fills that middling part of the roster. He could play next to Zach Edey. He could play next to Jaren Jackson Jr. And how fun would it be if he worked out and was able to do that? Maybe with both of them on the court. Play Edey at the 5, Triple J at the 4, Danny Wolf at the 3. Mix it up. Grit and grind is back. Danny Wolf, Memphis Grizzly. Woo! Yikes. Okay. Timberwolves on the clock with the 17th pick. Yegor Demin, he's sliding. You know, I can't explain it. It's not explicable. There's just not need for these kind of lead guard guys. I know there's reports out there that teams fancy him highly, but I think it makes sense that, yeah, he got this high stock at the combine. He hit a bunch of open gym three-pointers. It's not out of the realm of possibility that you actually get to your pick and consider taking Yegor Demin, and it's scary. He's going to be a tough player to develop. You're going to have to give him that runway to fail in the lead guard reps. You're going to have to give him that runway to fail shooting the ball, defending at a high level. So while I probably don't see him sliding this far, I do get somewhat of a slide in general. For the Timberwolves here, I'm going to go with a pick I have long enjoyed, Walter Clayton Jr. I think he makes perfect sense given that he is on the older side. I think he's going to be able to hit the ground running in this Timberwolves core that probably wants him to do that. I've talked about it before. I think he's got that it factor, was the best player on a national championship team, one of the best shooters in this class, great handler, 2-to-1 ATO. He's got some dog to him. I could see him both handling and settling the Timberwolves offense in the absence of some of these other guards and Anthony Edwards, or I could see him just cashing triples next to guys like Anthony Edwards, next to guys like Mike Conley. So I think this is a great pick and one that they should take if presented with the option. The Wizards are back on the clock at 18. Complete no-brainer in every sense of the word here. Demin, I would have considered. I think I did consider for them at number 6. Here it makes complete sense. He's exactly what they value in terms of positional size, versatility. He's got the best passing in the class, which they desperately need. And like I touched on before, Washington has that runway to give him those developmental minutes, that developmental opportunity. Let him mess things up. Let him learn from his mistakes. Let him get better over the course of the next few seasons and see what you come out with on the other side. I think it'll be positive stuff. Yegor Demin to the Wizards, number 18. At number 19, the Nets are back on the clock. We went with Noah Esenge at number 8, a pick I continue to like, especially given how this is shaken out. Esenge to me projects to be more of a 4 if the handling really comes around, maybe even a 3. So Baron J at the 5 is interesting. Maybe you just fill out your future front court there. Obviously, you'd have to offload Nick Claxton, go get as much value as you could for him, but that's an interesting option at least. Given how it's looking, I would say Will Riley would probably be there at 26 and 27. Same with Liam McNeely. Thomas Sorber, I like Thomas Sorber a lot. I don't know that I love it for Brooklyn given where things are going. I'm going to go with Jace Richardson. I think we went with a little bit of a volatile 8th pick. Here at number 19, you get a player that I think in some capacity is going to be a good NBA player. He's one of the highest feel, if not the highest feel players in this class. Forced Tom Izzo's hand at Michigan State. He can do a little bit of everything. 6'3" combo guard. The height is overblown. He's got a 6'8" wingspan. He's going to be able to size up. My main worry with Jace Richardson is just what role he plays offensively. Now, the NBA is obviously becoming more positionless by the day, but I don't think he's necessarily bound to be a point guard. I don't love him as like a pure 2 guard. I don't know if he's going to shoot the ball well enough or slash well enough to do that. Probably doesn't handle the ball or pass the ball well enough to be your lead guard. But regardless of those facts, I think he's going to be good somewhere. He will eventually force an NBA team's hand, just like he did MSU, in simply being too good to keep off the court. So love Jace Richardson here as a little bit of a high floor, potentially high ceiling pick for Brooklyn, coming off the Esenge at number 8 selection. At number 20, we have the Miami Heat. I think it's pretty cut and dry. I think they need a point guard prospect in any capacity, and the best available right now is going to be Nolan Traore. This is a pick I've made before. It's one I like. I think he's still got high upside with the horizontal athleticism. He's got a great first step, great burst, should continue to have feel on offense and passing the ball. Now, that jump to the NBA is going to be a big one. I touched on this in my big board. He didn't necessarily see a ton of improvement with St. Quentin on a year-to-year basis between last year and this year. So he is going to need time kind of in the pressure cooker to hone all of these skills, to really figure out NBA systems, how things work. But the Heat have also been sneakily one of the better developmental teams over the last decade. So love this pick with Nolan Traore to Miami. The Utah Jazz at number 21. They have already taken Trey Johnson at number 5. Some options I would consider here: Joan Barron-Jay. Thomas Sorber would be a really fun one. Asa Newell. Rasheer Fleming has seen a little bit of a slide relative to where people probably see him now. I like Noah Penda a lot. Adu Thero, one of my guys, still on the board. We touched on it earlier. I don't think Walker Kessler is likely the long-term 5 in Utah. That's been a report for a while now. I think it makes total sense given where they're at as a franchise. So I'm here between Barron-Jay and Thomas Sorber. My heart leans Sorber because I have a lottery grade on him. One of my favorite prospects in this draft. I think he's immensely fun, going to be a really good NBA player. But my gut tells me that Barron-Jay's recent kind of stock might have him actually drafted first in the actual draft. So we're going to go with Barron-Jay for that reason. Again, 6'11" without shoes, 7'4" wingspan. Kind of that mobile rim runner, potential shot blocker archetype that teams value so much. Wow, number 15 on the ESPN board right now, which I believe is the one we're using. So yeah, Joan Barron-Jay to Utah. At number 22, we have the Atlanta Hawks again, and this is why we did what we did earlier, because they've got some great options here at number 22. Thomas Sorber is one I would have considered for them at number 13. Asa Newell is one that would probably be considered at number 13. Reynaud is a pick we've made before. We love that one. Rasheer Fleming makes a ton of sense in that Atlanta Hawks core. Man, a guy I would really consider here is Adu Thero. Man, that would just be so fun to have him as like a one-of-one athlete, getting out in transition in this fast-paced Hawks core, dunker spot stuff, defending at the point of attack, racking up steals and blocks. I'm not going to do it, but I want to do it. I'm going to go with Fleming. Having taken a shot on Colin Murray-Boyles earlier, who does not pack that outside punch, I like a gamble here on Rasheer Fleming, who does. 39% shooter last year with St. Joe's. He's 6'9". He has the now confirmed 7'5" wingspan, which I think allows him to play the 4, maybe even some small ball 5, depending on just how bulky that opposing big is. But regardless, I think it would be a super fun way to shake up that front court for Atlanta, infuse it with a lot of defense. I mean, Rasheer Fleming and Colin Murray-Boyles were effectively some of the best defensive playmakers in the entire country last year. You put both of them in your front court, or you stagger them and let them go to work in this Hawks core. I think it'd be really fun. We have another recent trade with the Pelicans picking up number 23 via Indiana. Indiana obviously in the finals right now. Swapped their pick for their 2026 pick back. I think it makes total sense why they wouldn't want to take a prospect this year, given that they're probably not going to help a ton next year. They add a future pick to their cash to potentially work with, making some deals down the line. I like it a lot. I digress. The Pelicans here at number 23, I think they would likely look to trade this pick again to move up to number 3. But if they do hang on to it, they've got some fun options. They already took a center in Kamon Malawach. They have my guy Yves Misi, who I really liked last year. So I think their front court is shored up. Not a lot of great guard options here. We'll go McNeely. I think he just makes sense generally for a lot of teams as this kind of bulkier offensive connective forward. Should be able to hit threes, just do a lot of good things in general if he can kind of land on that high-end outcome. Liam McNeely, number 23 to the Pelicans. Thunder are back on the clock, number 24. This one's a complete no-brainer. I wanted to do it earlier at 15. I didn't pull the trigger. I'm going to here. Thomas Sorber, 14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, almost 3 stocks per game, I believe. Sorber was pretty incredible in his lone collegiate year. Obviously had the foot injury, only saw him play 26 games. But to me, one of the higher upside bigs in this class, just in terms of being able to do so many different things well. He should have a long runway to get better. 7'6" wingspan confirmed at the combine. That is absurd. Quells every single fear I have about him playing the 5. Sorber effectively would function as another one of these players that you can backfill the roster with. He would be able to play alongside Chet Holmgren, doing all these different things, potentially spacing the floor. He's shown a little bit of touch there. And then long term, I think he also offers a little bit of what Isaiah Hartenstein does too, in terms of being this big, immovable body, potentially one that would be able to facilitate. You know, he had the 2.4 assists as a freshman with the Hoyas, so love this pick for the Thunder, Thomas Sorber. At number 25, we have the new look Magic, who, per the Fanspo Mock Draft Simulator, are not new look just yet, but just pretend Desmond Bane's over here, take off Cole Anthony, take off KCP, and take off, I believe it was 75 first-round picks that they gave up. Love the Desmond Bane fit. Talked about it in the Grizzlies video. Phenomenal fit. Obviously, slight overpay, but they got their guy. They now have shooting on the wing. I think their front court is more than filled out. Their guards are doing okay. I'm still a huge Anthony Black believer. You can't hold me down. I always will be. Ideally, Walter Clayton's still here, but I know ball. I know that Walter Clayton's great. I took him at 17. He's not here. We got to pivot. The Magic are a team that values positional size, defensive acumen, but again, their front court's filled out. So ideally, we would go Asa Newell, maybe even Reynaud, given he's got the 3-point shooting, but just don't know that they want front court players. I'm trying to think of how a Adu Thero would fit, and it's not computing in my brain, so it's probably not the best option. Drake Powell's super interesting. Two-way wing there. Penda makes some sense, given that he's great at defense. I think he'll be able to plug holes offensively. Ben Saraf. Have we ever considered Ben Saraf to the Magic? He handles the ball well. He would be able to play that off-ball wing, maybe cut off of guys like Paolo when he has the ball. I think I'm going to go Drake Powell. He, to me, adds a little bit of what they lost in KCP, like way down the line. Obviously, a lot of development and opportunity needed for Drake Powell, given that he scored 7.4 points per game last year for the Tar Heels as a true freshman, but he's a decent shooter. I believe it was somewhere in like the 37%, 38% range on like okay volume, 2 or 3 attempts per game. Good athleticism, projects to be a good defender. So, and I don't think I've ever mocked Drake in the first round, and this is absolutely a possibility. So Brooklyn's on the clock. They've got back-to-back picks here at 26 and 27, and man, do they have options given how this is shaken out. So many good players on the board here. They took Esenge at 8, Jace Richardson 19th. Asa Newell has fallen much too far. He would be a great swing. Noah Penda would be a great swing. Ben Saraf. You're going to be hard-pressed to not see me take a Adu Thero with one of these picks. I think he's that good. I think he's got sneaky upside. He's not a finished product, guys. He's not. Hyper athlete, gonna be able to play finish. He's got sneaky feel in being an unselfish passer, good defender, gets handsy with you. I like Adu Thero. We're gonna go Asa Newell first because he's fallen much too far. He's got some tweener funk, but I think he does project to be a decent 4 if the 3-point shot comes around. So again, like we like with these picks, he's got a little bit of that high floor, a little bit of that high ceiling, like Asa here. And then yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. Adu Thero. I would like to draft Brooklyn a lead guard, given that we went with combo forward, combo guard, combo forward, but you know, there's not really a ton of great options here. And I do think Adu Thero offers a very, very different, almost more kind of wing forward than the other two. So Boston Celtics on the clock. Will Riley probably be up there for my BPA. Noah Penda would as well. Reynaud's great. Saraf's great. Kalkbrenner. Hanson Yang, a player we absolutely consider. Given the roster changes that this team is set to undergo, and just the pure opportunity that they could give to a player, I think a ton of these guys make sense. Ryan Kalkbrenner to me probably makes the most sense, given that the rest of these guys would probably need more than just 1 year to really, really assimilate themselves to the NBA. Will Riley's going to need time to cook. Maxime Reynaud's going to need time to cook. Noah Penda, while great, and while I think he could be really good defensively early, probably going to need some time to cook. Kalkbrenner, though, while still probably needing a little bit of time to find his NBA footing, I really buy the collegiate production. I really buy that he'll be able to insert himself into an NBA rotation sooner rather than later. The Celtics can take him, roll him out for the next season, get him acclimated, and then hit the ground running with Ryan Kalkbrenner in their rotation when they kind of get their core up and running again. With the 29th pick, the Suns are up. And everything we know about the Suns right now screams that they are hurtling towards a new era, that Kevin Durant will not be on the roster soon, that they'll potentially want to reposition themselves, reshuffle this roster around a different core, a younger core even. So in looking at upside swings, I think Will Riley makes sense. I think Ben Surratt makes sense. Hanson Yang again, and then Bogolyub Markovic. All of those guys are guys I would look at. Ultimately, I cannot, in good faith, let Will Riley slip out of the first round. And for better or worse, I think the Suns have somewhat successfully developed quasi this archetype in Cam Johnson. So I like Will Riley a lot. Obviously, double-digit scorer in his time with Illinois. Had the 2-to-1 ATO as a 6'8 wing. Talented shot maker. A lot of unteachable things, but a lot of ironing out needed as well, which Phoenix would, in theory, have time to do, given that they're on a new path. And then the last pick of the mock, the LA Clippers at number 30. I am going to go with Noah Penda. Again, just another player I can't stomach to let slip out of the first round here. A player that I think could hit the ground running for them defensively. Obviously, as I touched on, I don't know that he'll be able to score in a prolific way early, but projects to shoot the three ball, should get better as an interior finisher, be able to do the little things in getting out in transition, cutting, things like that. So love Noah Penda as a pick in general, and especially for the Clippers, who another one of these teams that just need to backfill roster spots in general. There we have it. Oh my gosh, that took forever. Was that as long for you as it was for me? How long was that? Woo! Here it is. I'll give you the scroll, let you see the full rundown. I'm not going to subject you to me reading through all of these, but I'll touch on some highlights that I like. Obviously, the top two feel set in stone. I'm fine with Ace Bailey at 3. As I said, cannot shake this Kasparas Yakachonis to the Wizards pick. I like that. Asenge to the Nets, another one that I have just a sneaky suspicion about. Queen goes higher than I usually have him here. Fine with that. Knipple, small slide to the Rockets, like that fit. Neat Clifford to the Thunder, one that I feel is a little bit plausible, just given who they've reached on in current years. Clifford can do so many things, just a versatile player in general. Danny Wolf to the Grizzlies at number 16. That's so funny. Do you think an NBA GM has just absolutely panicked like that at the podium ever? Just been like, we'll take the least likely option of all time. Walter Clayton Jr., Timberwolves, love it. Yegor Demon, again, probably not going to fall to 18, but if he does, this is a home run pick for the Wizards. Baron J to the Jazz. Thomas Sorber to the Thunder. If the Thunder get both Clifford and Sorber, who I think I have at 12 and number 16 on my board, Sorber being 12, Clifford number 16, that would be a crazy draft. Drake Powell to the Magic, one I hadn't considered before this, but that I like a lot. These are great swing picks for the Nets, Newell and Thero. I think it was a good draft for Brooklyn. Asenge, Jace Richardson, Newell, and Thero. Between two of those guys, you're going to have studs, I think, and then the other two are probably NBA contributors too. I think that's a solid core four to leave this draft with. Kalkbrenner to the Celtics. Penda, the final pick of the mock, to the Clippers. That's it. This is very likely the last video I'm making before the 2025 NBA draft. I already did work on my big board today. That'll have been out by the time you see this. This should be out, a handful of days before the draft. But regardless, I think I'm going to be tied up time-wise, so that's it for the 2025 class. Obviously, I'll have more vids up post-draft, just talking fits, going through various things that actually happened, but I think as far as the pre-draft cycle, this will probably conclude it. It's been really fun. I really like the class a lot, and not to get too emotional here, but if you've watched my content at all, I really do appreciate it. It is unbelievable to me that anybody watches anything I do or respects any opinion I have. So really appreciate it, especially if you've made it this far. What do you do for work if you're still here? But no, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll see you after the draft.